What's up, guys? Welcome back and bear down. It's been 2 whole weeks since I've done a mock draft. Can you believe that? I don't believe that. I'm like the mock draft guy. So 2 weeks, that's way too long. We better get into a full Bears offseason mock today. And yeah, that beautiful man there at the bottom left, that's our future head coach. Just, we're not going to go into that on this one, but I just wanted to put him on there because we're going to will it into existence. So for those of you who are new to the channel, in my full-on mock draft videos where I go over the entire season, I do everything from salary cap to who we're going to cut to who we're going to sign to who we're going to retain to free agency to then the mock draft. So we're going to go over all of it. We're going to go over it really quick. This is the same thing from last time. I've just updated the numbers. The teams that are in salary cap hell. See, the Bears have the fifth best salary cap going into next season. Roughly 87,000 or 87 million as it stands right now. So we take that number, we move forward, and we're going to go right into our cuts. If you look at the top here, I like to use my little pointer. Top right here, if we cut him before 3/14, so right after the season ends, we can save $4 million. Ryan Bates, as most people know by now, should have medically retired. He hasn't been worth anything this year. He's not worth being a backup. So we're going to go ahead and cut him. The other one, I'm not changing from last time. We're going to cut Gerald Everett as well. We save $5.5 million. That is good value for a backup tight end. Problem is he's not playing backup tight end caliber. So we're going to go ahead and cut Gerald Everett as well. See where we are right now. We had the 86,950 here on the right. Boop. We add that to the money we've saved from those two cuts. We're now at $96,450,000 for our salary cap. All right, we move forward. We're going to look at each section one by one. We're going to do it the same way we did last time. And for this, I'm going to keep Tevin Jenkins, okay? We're going to keep him for $10 million with incentives. I know a lot of people aren't hot on that, but that is actually really good value for how well he plays. I understand when he plays. So it's going to be a short-term contract. It's going to be incentive-laden, but for the options that are out there, those who haven't seen my guard video, those who haven't seen the options that are out there, we do need to fill some holes because we have right now sitting 5-6 holes right here in the interior. We have nothing. So we do need to re-sign some of these guys. So I'm going to take Tevin Jenkins on a value contract, $10 million. Coleman Shelton on a value contract, $5 million. And this is what they should make. Then Matt Pryor on a backup contract around $3.5 million. And then Bill Murray is a earnings restricted free agent. We can get him for a league minimum. We don't plan on having him even be a backup. He's still developmental. I understand he played really well for a couple snaps this year, but you have to see what he has before you can depend on him to be a backup. The one thing from this video you should take from anything I'm saying is the Bears absolutely have to stop having scraps for backups. We need to have starter caliber, lower starter caliber backups. And Matt Pryor is lower starter caliber. Coleman Shelton is starter caliber, the very high backup caliber, low starter caliber, actually mid starter caliber. I mean, he's 12th best center in the league right now. It's just we want to have some depth there at center as we haven't had that. So we're going to go ahead and have these guys. You'll see in Ricky Stromberg, I'm going to add later. But right now he's a practice squad guy because that's what he's going to be. So we're just going to keep him on the futures reserve contract, not dip him into our salary cap is why I'm doing it the way that I'm doing here. So this helps shore up our offensive line a little bit. We do need help at tackle. Kieran Amagaji was developmental. So everyone needs to understand that as we go into this next offseason. He is not a bust. He is developmental. He needs this entire offseason. We need to see what we have out of him next year. Maybe he does end up getting moved to guard. So there's a couple tackles that are being projected as moving into guards in this draft. And you'll see I'm going to focus on at least taking one of them. Wyatt Millum is my favorite. There's also Armand Membu. And if you go watch my guard video, there's a bunch of tackles that we can move into guard that could play tackle if something went wrong. If Karan is not playing well and Braxton gets hurt next year, you could have them play out on tackle as well, and they're high caliber guys. So that's my whole viewpoint as a GM. That's what I'm going to do with this video. All right, on those same lines, we're going to have to shore up the running back room. DeAndre Swift is not a power back. He's not a workhorse back. We need to get a workhorse back. In fact, we probably got to get two backs. Ian Wheeler is still technically a practice squad caliber guy, undrafted free agent. He could be on the practice squad. He could be a returner. Who knows? But we need to have a quality running back room, and right now we don't have that. So we're going to have to pick someone up here. We're not going to do anything with our current roster. What we're going through right now is who we're going to retain. So nothing to new here. We're going to have to hit this in free agency in the draft. The one big change on this video, you see the X up here by Keenan Allen. I'm not going to retain him this time. We're going to take that money We're going to allocate it, and we've got some big, this is something I was thinking about this last time as we get into the safeties and the cornerbacks. We've got some big contracts coming up. So I'm going to use more buffer space on this one, and I'm going to hit free agency very conservative like Ryan Poles does. I'm not going to go after huge names. I'm going to go after a bunch of mid-level names, and then we're going to have some of that buffer cap so that we can have some extension money. Players like Kyler Gordon are going to have to get extended, and you don't want to get yourself in salary cap hell while we have a rookie quarterback. We want to build this thing. So I do appreciate one thing about Ryan Poles. He has not put us in a tough situation by trying to win championships by buying them. So it's a slow approach. Caleb was always going to have a first year as a quarterback, and some of us, including myself, had higher expectations than we should have. But we're going to go ahead and we're just going to re-sign Colin Johnson to a league minimum contract. I like him. He might end up back on the practice squad, but we're going to sign him, and now we need to fill our 2 wide receivers, a tight end, and a third tight end as well. And here's the area I think the Bears absolutely need to overhaul. They need to have a bunch of help here. We're not going to re-sign Jacob Martin. We're not going to re-sign Chris Williams. We're not going to re-sign Byron Cowart. We're not going to re-sign Darrell Taylor. He's on the linebackers for some reason. He's listed as a linebacker, but we're not going to re-sign Darrell Taylor either. We're going to go with Montez Sweat, Gervon Dexter, and I know a lot of us love Gervon Dexter. I do. I really like Gervon Dexter a lot. He is not a guaranteed long-term solution at 3-tech. He's played very well, and I think he plays high-end, but he's not proven himself to be a Jalen Carter yet. I know, don't crucify me because I've shown how he's played right up there, but he's got to take the next step and continue to be a star to have a long-term contract. On those lines, Andrew Billings is not a starter. He's a backup on maybe half the teams in the league. He wouldn't even be a backup on half the teams, and this is a stacked defensive tackle class. Stacked defensive end class. So we need to get a couple defensive ends. Austin Booker is developmental. He should in no way be depended on to be a rotational defensive end at this point. He should be developmental still. Zach Pickens and Dominic Robinson are on their way out the door, but we still have them on contract. And of any room, you need to have depth here at defensive tackle, defensive end, because they rotate in more than any other positional group. They do rotate more in the game. On run plays, pass plays, different sets, they rotate a ton. So this is going to be one of our focuses, and I don't think a lot of people have still realized that yet in this draft and this free agency, but we have to hit this hard. All right, hitting the linebackers are our nickelback, Josh Blackwell. He's a restricted free agent. We can match him, same with Jack Sanborn. So someone is going to offer Jack Sanborn a contract. We're going to go ahead and match it. I'm guessing that's going to be somewhere around 3 years, $15 million, $5 million a year. So we're going to match that. Josh Blackwell should get a 1 or 2 year deal around $1.5 million. Someone will come for those guys. They're good. So we're going to match those. They are quality, but we do need to get a little depth at linebacker. We need to add to the linebacker room. Not a lot to do here with the cornerbacks and safeties. We can add another cornerback, so I put it there, but someone's going to call him for Jalen Johnson too, and he is quality. So we're going to match his. Someone will give him a league minimum. We're going to match it as well. We may just offer Doug Coleman a earnings restricted league minimum as well. I'm not going to put that on here because I don't know. We'll sign him to the practice squad, in my opinion. But we do need a safety because the question marks are around Jaquan Brisker. He's been out since October. So who knows if he's coming back anytime soon. He should by next season, but he's had multiple concussions. I don't want to see him touch the field again without a guardian cap on his head. He's got to be able to have, consistency at the position without being injured, without concussions. So I'm hoping he comes back, but we should get someone just in case. Elijah Hicks has played well. Jonathan Owens has played well, but we need more depth there as well. All right, so after all that, we cut Gerald Everett, we cut Ryan Bates, we didn't re-sign Keenan Allen. Our offensive line with Tevin Jenkins and the Coleman Shelton and the additions we retained cost $19 million. Wide receivers cost $1 million with Colin Johnson. Linebackers, cornerbacks, $7.5 million. We're at $68 million. By the time you consider draft picks and buffer cap to be able to go into next season, we're left with $47 million in free agency. And if we're going mid-level guys like Ryan Poles likes to do, this is his MO. He constantly does, but sometimes he goes more low-level guys. We're taking flyers on. So I'm going to hit mid-level guys. I'm going to hit a bunch of mid-level guys, and I think it's going to pay off for the Bears combined with high-value draft picks as well. And for this video, we're going to use over-the-cap valuation. I usually use Spotrac, and I like Spotrac, but a lot of you guys have mentioned over-the-cap, and it's just another source. There's no guaranteed way to know how much these guys are making, but I'm just going to reference over-the-cap on this one. They're saying his next contract, this is Mike Gesicki, Cincinnati. And he's had a good year. He's had 597 yards, 2 touchdowns, and very low all across his career in drops. And I like that, my wide receivers and my tight ends. You guys know that. So I'm going to take Mike Gesicki. We're going to pay him 2 years, $13 million, $6.5 million average value. We're going to make him our backup to Cole Kmet. We still need some depth, but those two should provide a good 1-2, better than a Gerald Everett combo. Next up, we'll move right into Trent Brown, who's coming off injury. I know he's a seasoned vet. He's getting older, but you've already got Darnell Wright on the right side. Trent Brown is a right tackle as well. So this is a perfect position for him to come back from injury and to be able to have a position where he's not thrust back in, but he provides quality depth if he needs to be called on. You can see his snaps have declined dramatically, but this is a good role for him because he is quality when he's healthy. So they've got him at 5.97. We're going to sign him for 1 year, $5.5 million, which I think is very realistic for him coming back from his torn patellar tendon. And he's already said he wants to come back and play. All right, basically getting pushed out the door in Denver because of the additions they've made with their running back room is Javonte Williams, who was on his way. He was on the rise. His rookie year, he had 903 yards. His second year, 204, and then 774. And really, they just overloaded their running back room, so they're not going to re-sign him. They've already said he's going to hit a free agency. I think they want to bring him back, but they're going to see if anybody's going to overpay for him. With how many running backs there are in this draft, I think he's going to be a steal. They've got him at 3.598. I've got him at 3.5. Even if we pay less than that, $3 million, I think it's great to bolster our running back room and then still draft a running back. So Javonte Williams, very solid if you've watched his game. Not the best out there, but he does hit the holes hard, and he's not like DeAndre Swift where he dances as much. He's going to be more reliable just to take the rock and try to do something with it. So I like this one. Let's go right forward to the next one, Josh Palmer, wide receiver. So we've replaced Keenan Allen with Josh Palmer. Is Josh Palmer anywhere near Keenan Allen? No, I don't think so at all. But he's 6 foot, I think 210 pounds. He's got good hands. He doesn't drop it. I mean, this last year he actually did drop more than he should, but he doesn't drop it that much. And he's a good contested catch receiver as well. So all the formula that I like, and he's very consistent. 584, 799. He's a reliable wide receiver 3/4. And sometimes you need that. So $7 million a year for that, 2 years, $14 million. This is the exact mid-level contract, mid-tier, not your home runs, but your mid-tier guys that I would expect Ryan Poles to go after. And then lastly, we're going to hit the home run. And over the cap has Josh Sweat at 11.2. It's not realistic. So I couldn't just take that because they said that. I had to go with what was realistic. He's going to get somewhere around 2 years, $34 million. He'll want more years, probably 3 or 4 years. He's still fairly young, so he'll want that. I think he's worth taking 2 years, $17 million on, probably $14 or $15 million with some incentives laden for him. And he fits perfectly across from Montez Sweat. So I like Josh Sweat. Then it doesn't force a rookie defensive end to be a star. We can rotate him in. And with your position there, defensive end more than any other position, you're rotating guys in the whole game. So you can still draft a rookie very high, first, second round, and still have him rotate a ton with Montez Sweat, Josh Sweat. Sweat Brothers. Hadn't even thought of that before this video. But that would be perfect for the Bears. So I'm going to say 2 years, $34 million. Might be a little aggressive. Maybe we'll sign him for less. But I'm happy with that number if we do that. 2 years, $34 million. 8 sacks this year. 8 sacks the year before. 15 the year before that with Philadelphia. And we're going to go ahead and grab Josh Sweat. Okay, so after all that, you add in the free agency right here at the bottom of $40 million is what that added up to be. This should be gone. Sorry. $7,420,000 left. $7,360,000 left. Plus the other buffer we already built in. So you got about $15 million in buffer. And I like having that much money because it's going to allow for extensions if we need them or if we have to get a player midseason because a big injury happened. You can afford to go get a good player. So I'm going to run with this $15 million in buffer. I like it a lot. And here's what we have going into the draft and acquisitions. So we've filled, here's the starter positions we need after all the moves we made. And here's the draft picks. And yes, I'm taking this one as Ryan Poles saying so that we can get in Cunningham's comp picks for the next 2 years. Now, if you haven't heard or if you've been under a bush or a tree, there's rumors that Ian Cunningham is very sought after. That's been all since last year, but there's rumors of the Colts being tied to him if they get rid of Chris Ballard. So I'm going to say he gets taken this year. We've mocked this for the last 2 years. We've said he's going to get taken, but finally feels like it might happen. So Ian Cunningham goes. We get the comp picks. We've taken Josh Sweat as a defensive end. We've taken Josh Palmer as our wide receiver 3. We still need another wide receiver and another defensive end for depth. But for starters, we need a defensive tackle, a right guard, a center, a running back, and then we need, for depth, wide receiver, safety, defensive end, defensive tackle, linebacker. And when you have 3, 4, 5 first 2-day picks, round 1, 2, and 3, the first 2 days of the draft, that should be able to get at least your starters solid, and then you can get developmental guys or flyers. As Ryan Poles said, draft picks are just opportunities. And no, not every first rounder hits. Not every second rounder hits. But we're also going to convert this into more draft picks because I really feel that we should trade down in this one. It's probably going to lay out that way as well. So here's where the draft order stands right now, as of today, before the Bears game tomorrow, before the final games start Saturday and Sunday, this morning and tomorrow. Here's where they stand. The Bears have the 9th overall pick. We can get as high as 5th. If all these teams right here, Jacksonville, Carolina, New York Jets, Las Vegas, all win and we lose, we can get as high as 5th. I don't bank on that. In fact, I have all of them losing. The one thing that I do hope for is the Jets win, that Aaron Rodgers goes out with a bang, because they're the biggest threat to be able to get Mason Graham. Now, he's so good, some of these teams up here might. In fact, there was a mock draft yesterday. I'm recording this late, so it's actually today for me. But New England taking Mason Graham, I don't think it's realistic, but we're going to put that one up here as the scenario of where we go with this draft and why I trade down. But here's the draft picks right now. 1, it should be 9 right there. Here, let's hide that. So it's just 9. And 38, 41, 73, 100, 147, 204, 228, 248. Shows where they came from. Those are all the draft picks we have if we have the Ian Cunningham comp picks. So here's the mock draft that 3013 came out with yesterday, and this is how they had things falling. They had Mason Graham going first to the Patriots. I don't see that happening. In fact, I think they would trade down in this scenario if they're taking Mason Graham and be able to get him somewhere in here. You know, if the Giants or if, and they've got a lot of trades happening here. They got the Titans coming up to 2. They got the Browns trading way up. But in this scenario, Mason Graham, Abdul Carter, and James Pierce are all off the board. And those are the only really 3 options for the Bears in the first round. I know a lot of you guys really believe that these 2 guys, Kelvin Banks and, where did I put that? And Will Johnson? Will Campbell. Ugh, I hate when I have brain farts. Will Campbell will go to the Bears. It's 0. It's not happening. We're not drafting a tackle in the top of the draft. So in this scenario, we're sitting there with both the only 2 tackles in this draft, and there are needy teams for tackle. In fact, I've listed them right here: the Seahawks, the Chiefs, the Browns, the Rams, the Ravens, the Niners, and the Dolphins are the most needy teams for tackle. And there's really only 3 or 4 tackle options in the first round. And these guys need them. These are the top 2. And then you got Josh Simmons from Ohio State as well. Browns have already traded up, and really the best range for the Bears to get value would be right here at 21 with the Seahawks. It's a 16% overpaid coming from 9 to 21, according to the Rich Hill trade value chart. And what the Bears would get is we get their 2nd, their 3rd, and a future 3rd-round pick to be able to have them trade up, us to go down 12 spots to trade with the Seahawks. I absolutely love this. I would love to have an extra day 2 and day 3 pick in this year's draft where it's loaded on day 2 and 3 with offensive guards, with defensive ends, with all the positions we need, even with safeties in that range. Centers at the top of the center list is where you're going to need to grab one of them. So this is what I want to do. I want to trade down in this exact scenario. We're going to take 21, 53, 85 just for giving up 9. So one of these teams can come up and get Kelvin Banks and Will Campbell. So it's 100% worth it, and this is what the Bears should do. Ryan Poles, if you're listening, don't overthink it. Do it. Do it. Do it. Do it. All right, so let's jump right into the draft with our first-round pick. We're taking Walter Nolan, nose tackle, defensive tackle, out of Mississippi State. I'm in love with him. You guys have already seen that on this channel. His run defense, his pass rush, all stellar. We need better run defense. We have to fix it. So we're going with Walter Nolan. Next up, we're going to go Wyatt Millum. So here's one that I talked about that's going to be converting from offensive tackle to guard. I like the idea of taking these guys, and he, to me, is one of the best guards in this draft, 100%. A little bit shorter arms. You can even read in here if you see he has proven ability to move between positions. Even says that he's willing to go center if he needs to. So Good base, willingness to learn everywhere on the line, and he's going to be super valuable, and he's just played at an extremely high level. You look down at the bottom there. His pass blocking grades, his run blocking grades, everything about him. No sacks allowed in the last 3 years as a starter at West Virginia, which is high-level ball. So I really like Walter Millam, and I would love for the Bears to be able to snag him in the second round. My only concern is he's not going to last till the second round. He's going to be borderline. He's going to be one of those guys that's right here on this verge. So as with any mock draft that you're hoping for the best-case scenario, we're hoping he falls to us at 38. All right, at number 41, we're taking Princely Umanmielen. I love Princely Umanmielen as well, and it would be really fun to pair him up with Walter Nolan, the two of them on the defensive line. Now, he would be behind Josh Sweat, but he would get plenty of reps coming in. Solid pass rush, solid run defender as well, good tackler, 11 sacks this year. Very good motor, never stops. So I really like Princely Umanmielen. I think he would be perfect. So we're nailing the draft so far. 3 trench guys right off the bat. Walter Nolan, Wyatt Millen, Princely Umanmielen, and our second-round pick, who's rising boards quicker. We could draft him earlier or later in other mock drafts before now. Tate Ratledge. I really like Tate Ratledge as well. Right guard out of Georgia. Solid pass blocker as well, solid run blocker, and only allowed 1 sack this year. So we're shoring up the trenches. We've got 2 defensive linemen, 2 offensive linemen, and that's what we're doing with this draft. We're going to shore up the trenches. All right. This is one of those where it fell into your lap, and this is right where he's going to fall. Xavier Watts out of Notre Dame, and there's a couple of them here. Kevin Winston from Penn State could have fallen here too, but this is what I'm talking about with your safeties. There's a bunch of them right here at this range. So while I'd like to keep taking other positions, I want to take a center right here. I want to take a running back right here. This is where we're going to start taking best player available, in my opinion, in this draft. And with our 73rd pick, remember, we've got an 85th overall pick too because we traded down. That's why that trade down in the first round is so valuable. We're going to have an 85th pick. So the 73rd best player available, Xavier Watts, falls to us, and this is right where he's ranging. We're going to take him. That gives us the ability to have depth, and those contracts are all coming to an end in the end of 2025 for all of our nickels and our safeties. We've got to be able to have some depth there, and this is how you keep building a solid team, is getting starters in the draft here. So Xavier Watts to me is a solid pickup here in the second. This is actually third round, 73. I mislabeled that. My apology, guys. But it's third round, 73rd overall. And then with our second third round pick, which is going to be number 85 overall, then we're going to take, let's get there, Jared Wilson, who I feel like if you watched my interior offensive line and my centers video, I feel like we could have gotten him later in the 4th round, but there's only a couple really good center options in this draft, him and Jake Majors. So this is where you're going to have to take Jared Wilson. Everyone's got him mocking somewhere around 100, 120, but I want to be very realistic with these. So he's very intelligent. He's going to be a general on the line, so I feel like he could start day one. But if you don't have to start in day one, Caleb already has repertoire with Coleman Shelton. So you've got Jared Wilson and Coleman Shelton that can compete and battle for the starting job. And if he's not ready as a rookie on day one, Coleman Shelton can start and Jared Wilson can work his way in. I absolutely love that we're finally going to have depth after this draft if we handle free agency and the draft correctly. My bad for assuming that Ryan Poles can pull something off like this, but we're going for best case scenario here. And Jared Wilson played behind Cedric Von Prown, who a lot of you guys wanted, and has played very well since he took over. Extremely well. In fact, one of the best in the league. He hardly ever allows even a pressure. You can see in 431 pass block opportunities, he only had 5 pressures overall, which is like 80-something snaps between a pressure, which is crazy. So same thing as Zach Frazier last year. Zach Frazier did the same thing, and we talked so high about him. All right, so we're going to move into our comp pick. It's going to be 3rd round, 100th overall, which is right where the comp pick falls, and we're going to take Dylan Sampson. Now, a lot of you might not think he'll be there, but the reality is there is so many good running backs in this class. People are going to take their running backs 1st round for Ashton Genty, and the 2nd round with Omarion, and with even Cam Scatterboom might be end up going in the 2nd or 3rd round. Caleb Johnson would go in the 2nd or 3rd round, and then you're going to have guys like this, like Dylan Sampson. They're going to fall right here in the 3rd round. So we're going to take Dylan Sampson, who is a solid option. He's not the biggest, 5'11", 190, but he gets elite breakaway speed. He's one of the quickest in this draft. So 4.35, we already took one in free agency with Javonte Williams. Now we've got Dylan Sampson, and I really like the option. We still have Johnson that we can have be a goal line back as well still, but this guy has such natural hands and elusive breakaway speed. Like he's going to be really, really solid, and I would love to take him. So our comp pick, we're going to take him, and then as we move forward in the 5th round, this is where we're going to start shoring up our depth. So Riley Mills, I really like. He's more of a 3-tech, and he can compete with Jervon Dexter. Jervon's not going to lose to Riley Mills, but he's someone we can develop behind Jervon, and I like that a lot. So we're going to go through these last guys, these late rounds. Because the late round picks are more of opportunities, guys. They're more of guys that you want to develop and see if they can turn into something. So we're going to go through these ones a little bit quicker. We got Riley Mills here at 147. We got Ricky White at 204. Solid wide receiver option, but as well, he had 4 blocked punts in college. He was the most blocked punts of anybody. He's going to be a Shrine Bowl invitee, so it's going to be fun to watch him. Then this is one of my favorite late round guys. Luke Kandra, I think, is just he's like the perfect developmental lineman. So unlike when we've had in the past, guys like Doug Kramer or Jatiri Carter, who you hope will develop into something, he actually played really high-level ball. He just is not consistent. He's not consistent with his footwork. He still needs a little bit of work for him. 4-year starter at Cincinnati, or 3-year starter at Cincinnati, 2.5. But he's played really well, and I would love to see us develop him and get guys like this in the late rounds. And I think this draft has some late-round guys that you can develop like that. And then last, we're going to help shore up the linebacker position with Jackson Woodard, who is the Mountain West Conference Defensive Player of the Year. You're going to look for some small conference guys that might step out and step up. He was top 25 in all of college football in both defensive grade and run defensive grade for linebackers. His 4 interceptions on the year, 8 pass breakups. He was always in on every play, tons of tackles as well. So he's a Jack Sanborn, TJ Edwards type of guy that's always ready to hit somebody. But he's got very good instinctual coverage as well. So he can play really. He started at Arkansas, ended up at UNLV, and he's just that type of guy that would really impact your team. All right, so to me, this is a home run offseason. This is what we needed, and this is how we filled it all out. The orange is free agency. The yellow is the draft. So we've picked up over here, you've picked up Walter Nolan, Josh Sweat, Tate Ratledge, Jared Wilson, Dylan Sampson, and Josh Palmer. And over on the right here, you got Trent Brown, Ricky White, Xavier Watts, Mike Gesicki, Javonte Williams, Prince Amon-Mayelan, Riley Mills, Jackson Woodard, and Luke Kandra. I mean, this is like the ideal offseason for the Bears, in my opinion. But let's see how it shakes out. So here's your offensive line, and this is deep, and I love it. We finally have a deep offensive line where you actually, what Ryan Poles was saying last year, looks real. One of the deepest lines in the league. Maybe not your top end guys yet. Maybe you don't have 5 Pro Bowlers, but there's potential for that with this line. And if you're worried about Braxton Jones, Wyatt Millum can step up and step in before Kieran Amagaji was. In fact, maybe you switch these guys, but I think Wyatt Millum could take over one day here or could take over here. I just think he's a really good option to have. High-level guy, and I'm really this is my big key right here, especially keeping Braxton. This is my big key right here. I like that a lot. So you got Kieran developing as well. You got Braxton Jones, Tevin Jenkins, Jared Wilson, Tate Ratledge, teammates. I like these teammate ideas. That's kind of fun. Darnell Wright. Then you got Trent Brown as a solid backup. Matt Pryor is a solid backup. Some of you don't feel that way, but you have to understand where backups really fall in the league. Coleman Shelton, Wyatt Millum, Karan Amagaji. Then you got Bill Murray developing, Ricky Stromberg developing, and Luke Kandra developing. I mean, this is probably in my lifetime, we've had some really good offensive linemen with the Bears. In the last decade, this is one of the better offensive lines built on this team, I would feel like. The running back room and the quarterbacks, nothing's changing there, but I really feel like this running back room is a lot more solid than it has been this year or last year. DeAndre Swift, Dylan Sampson, Javonte Williams, Roshan Johnson, Ian Wheeler. I think that just gives us a lot of depth and a lot of opportunities. Some of these guys are going to get their reps, and it'll be a lot of fun to watch with the new coach who comes in. Say it's Ben Johnson. I mean, he can use these guys, and he'll have a lot of fun doing that. Ian Wheeler would probably be our return specialist, in my opinion. Kickoff, punt return. If you guys don't remember my video from last year, go look at it. Just go into the Bear Down Sports page and search Ian Wheeler, and you're going to see his returns. He's a lot of fun to watch on the return. Get into receivers and tight end. Yeah, DJ Moore, Josh Palmer, Roma Dunze, Tyler Scott, Colin Johnson, and Ricky White. I actually really like this. If you're not familiar with Ricky White yet, look him up. 2,000-yard seasons, and he's just very, very solid hands. He's good body contortion, really solid. I watched him firsthand several games. Tight ends, you got Cole Kmet, Mike Gesicki, and then I'm going to take some undrafted free agent Brant Kuithe from the University of Utah, who was really high on boards last year and kind of just fell as Utah had a bad season. But his potential is really high, so I'd like to see us take him as an undrafted free agent, and he will be an undrafted free agent. There's a good option there. Now on the defensive line, this is just absolutely rebuilt and stacked. You've got Montez Sweat, Gervon Dexter, Walter Nolan, Josh Sweat, Princely Umanmielen behind Josh Sweat. You've got 3 starter quality defensive ends without having to put the pressure on the rookie defensive end, who's a high caliber rookie defensive end. I mean, behind Abdul Carter and James Pierce, I know a lot of you like Nick Scourton. I don't think he fits the Bears system well. There's a couple of them don't fit like that. But then you've even got Jack Sawyer, Princely Umanmielen, and Landon Jackson, who would all be good fits for our system. And if you can get one of them and have them be a backup and not have to have the pressure of being the stud day one, but if they do develop into the stud, he can take some reps away from Josh Sweat or Montez Sweat. And heaven forbid, if someone gets hurt, we have 2 starter quality defense. This is what we need. We need starter caliber stuff. Andrew Billings is a solid backup behind Walter Nolan and behind Gervon Dexter. Riley Mills developing as well. And then, of course, still got DeMarcus Walker, who has played very high caliber, but he should be considered one of the best backups in the league. Not thrust into the starter role, and that's been our problem. Austin Booker, I haven't given. He was always meant to be developmental. Put some more weight on this year, compete with these guys, eventually take over for DeMarcus Walker is what I see him doing to rotate in. There, Dominic Robinson will be gone. Zach Pickens will be gone. And you keep refreshing and building, bringing new blood in. This is how it should work on a team with a rookie contract, with a high-level rookie, to be able to bring a lot of value into this room like this. So this I really like this a lot. All right, our linebacker and nickel room. Yes, I'm sticking with Tremaine Edmonds for one more year. I think fixing the defensive line will help him tremendously. I really believe that. But then you got TJ Edwards, you got Jack Sanborn. I'm not sold on Noah Sewell anymore, but he's still in the middle of his contract. We're giving him one more year, but we're also bringing in undrafted free agent Cody Simon. It's a very popular position to bring in on undrafted free agency. There's a lot of linebackers. In fact, look at these 2 guys right here, Jack Sanborn and TJ Edwards, both undrafted free agents. It happens all the time with the linebacker position. I think Cody Simon is one of the best perfect examples of a guy that could develop, who has high potential. And we drafted Jackson Woodard as well. And then we retained Josh Blackwell. We matched his offer, and then we still have Reddy Stewart, who I think was a great undrafted free agent from last year, who can continue to develop. And then last but not least, you got your cornerbacks and your safeties. We didn't pick up another cornerback, but we could. But this is what I was talking about with these contracts coming to an end. Kevin Byard, Jaquan Brisker, Jalen Jones, Jonathan Owens, Elijah Hicks, all at the end of this year. We're going to have to decide who we extend. But next year's draft, I can absolutely see us taking safeties, cornerbacks, offensive tackle, first round. This will be the time when we kind of hit this, and then we'll have to re-sign, maybe Kevin Byard, maybe Jaquan Brisker if he's not eternally injured. We'll have to see, but I think this is solid for the 2025 year. This will be fine. And I do have Terrell Smith starting over Tyreek Stevenson. I feel like he's earned it, and I feel like he can play a little higher level on man-to-man, be able to stick hip-to-hip with some guys. So that's it. That's our full Chicago Bears mock offseason, and this is honestly my favorite one so far. I know it's not your high-impact free agents, I know, but it's very realistic in my opinion, and then just one trade down with a value trade down that gives us a third-rounder next year and gives us these extra picks that gives us this room here. You got your linebackers and nickels, this is probably my least favorite here. I love Josh Gordon, or Kyler Gordon. I'm mixing the names. I love Kyler Gordon. I think we need to extend him. But Tremaine Edmonds hasn't sold me, but we're bringing in 2 guys to kind of compete there and see if we can develop them behind. I love the defensive line. This absolutely would be phenomenal to me, and I think this would be one of the best potential defensive lines in the league. They're not proven yet. Gervon Dexter hasn't proven it. Walter Nolan's a rookie, but this would high potential. And look at those contracts on the right. If you haven't noticed by now, the kind of orange color means their contract's expiring at the end of this year. You only got 3 of them expiring: DeMarcus Walker, Andrew Billings, Dominic Robinson. The rest of them, they're on contract. So this would be a solid defensive line room. There's your tight ends and your wide receivers, and all of them would be under contract at least for the next couple of years. And then you got your quarterbacks and running backs, and all of them would be solid. Offensive line, and this is one of the deeper offensive lines in my book. So let me know what you guys think. Let me know if you like this one. This is my favorite so far. It's been a couple weeks since we did a mock draft. Thought we'd do a full off-season mock draft, get the entire picture in there. If you guys haven't subscribed by now, I appreciate you doing so. In fact, I need to say, at the turn of the year, we are 8,800 subscribers, and that's after one full year of being Bear Down Sports Channel. I like bringing content to you guys that makes you think, that doesn't follow the mainstream narratives, that gets outside of that box, that makes you realize what players are like. I do bring some of the stats, nerdy, analytical stuff. I like to bring that stuff to you guys, but I also like to do a lot of draft stuff. So this is the season where I like to do that. So if you like looking at things with mock drafts, with the draft, with breaking player positions down, I try to give you guys breaking news as fast as I can too. But if you like that stuff, hit that subscribe button, hit the notifications, hit the like button to help share it to other people. I do appreciate you guys. Until next time, go Bears. I do want them to win. I don't care about the 5th overall pick. I care about if we get the 10th overall pick, I'm fine with it. But if we lose, I'm not butthurt either. I just want everybody else to lose or to win too. The Jets, everyone else win if we lose. But enjoy the game. Last game of the season. In fact, I'll go live for the game. We'll do that. I'll go live for the game. So come and tune in. Till next time, the Bears, bear down. Thanks for tuning in, guys.